Café and Networking Podcast promotes successful business experts. I'm Tom Reaoch, known as the King of Networking, connecting people throughout the world from my podcast studio in Brazil. Joining us today from Charlotte, North Carolina is Rodric Lenhart, president of MDFF Incorporated, #1 best-selling author of $1 Million Flip-Flops, Peace, Prosperity, and the Courage to Change Course in Life and Business. Rodric, why is it that those closest to you are the ones most likely to hold you back?
Counterintuitive, right? And first of all, thanks, Tom, for having me. But I heard a meme from a mentor of mine a long time ago that said, "People want you to do well, but not better than them." And I have found that to be true in my own life, and certainly as a business coach for the last 20 years. Your friends and family hold you back because it's not that they don't love you. Mm-hmm. It's because they love you and they're afraid of being left behind.
But they're not necessarily believers, right?
Yes. So, typically when they're going to, this is a technical term, poo-poo your idea, especially if it's something that's going to make you better or more successful, or you're going to have a new network or a new circle, or maybe new opportunities to move or leave town. Why would your friends and family not want that for you?
Right.
Because they don't want to lose you as a friend or a family member. And I can think back of times in my life that I did this. And I think it's just important to, you recognize the difference between cheerleaders and supporters in your life. And I use the book as an example. A lot of times when you say you're writing a book, people say, "Oh man, that's great." And then you go, "Okay, it's time to buy the book." And they go, "Well, I'm not going to buy it. I just think it's great that you were writing it."
You're writing.
Yeah. So it's one of those counterintuitive things. And
or they say, "Come over and tell me about the book," right?
What's that?
Or they say, "Come on over and tell me about the book."
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to help your Amazon ranking at all. I just want you to tell me about it for free. But, we're not taught to think that way about those closest to us, because you just assume that the people around you always have your best interest at heart. And we're just wired that way as a species. They're not doing it. It's not malicious most of the time. Sometimes it is. Most of the time.
I agree. But I also agree that that's worldwide. That's not cultural. That's not centric anywhere.
100%.
I've seen that myself here in Brazil, in business environments, startups. Generally, you have to believe in yourself. The first step, you have to take it. And most people, and I feel what you just said, will try to. I've been tried to be convinced more often than not that whatever I thought was an idea would not work. We've heard that I don't know how many times, right?
Right.
And I've also found that the best client are those I've never known. So
100%.
It comes back to that point that you have to be found and be found for whoever you are, or whatever you are. And the closest, unfortunately, can be a hold. How do we get out of that? How do we not talk to our closest friends?
I think, there's a quiz on my website that if you take, it identifies the 5 phases of the entrepreneur, and it goes from the believer to the business Buddha, and the 3 phases in between. And I think when you're in that believer phase, to your point, you have to have that. You have to have that unabashed optimism for whatever the thing is, because it's fragile when it's new, right? And I think just having this idea, this conversation is enough that when people have those conversations, they're thinking about it. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it, right? So the next time that you're talking to your buddy at the bar and he goes, "Well, here's all the reasons that's not going to work," you're going to think about our talk, right? And say, "Well, maybe this guy really doesn't have my best interest at heart, and it's not his fault." That's the key, right?
Yeah, but no, I agree. But again, I've found is getting into areas or networks or situations where like-minded people, not necessarily close people, you can sit down and have a chat or ask a blunt question and just get their cold reaction.
Yeah, well, it's the power of masterminds, right? I mean, I'm sure you're in multiple different masterminds, and you get something a little bit different from each one of those. But People that are, it's why business coaching works. People that are outside of your circle, they have no vested interest. Your wife's not going to tell you certain things because she has to go to bed with you that night. So your guy at the mastermind or gals is going to tell you something completely different. And I think the flip side of that is being able to accept that criticism, which I talk about a lot in the book. It's when you ask somebody for their opinion and they give you their real opinion, even if it's not something you want to hear, you can't fire back at them because you're never going to get it again. And those people that love you and care about you and will give you the tough love are harder to find than you think.
And sometimes they give you the answer you don't really need to hear. It's, sort of frosty and sugar coated and not necessarily real life.
100%. I remember when I was writing the book and I sent out test chapters and I said, I need you to tell me if this is terrible because the world is going to tell me if it's terrible. So if you just tell me it's great because you're my friend, it doesn't do me any good.
Well, since you are a #1 bestseller, either the world thinks it's terrible and they still like it, or they're trying to find out if it is or not, isn't, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how can our listeners find you? Where can they find you?
$1,000,000flipflops.com. If you go to $1,000,000flipflops.com/quiz, you can take the free quiz and it gives you the result without opting in. It is not just a lead magnet. And at $1,000,000flipflops.com.
And there we'll say I can find the quiz. You can watch videos. You'll get the book, right?
Yep.
And
absolutely.
then also
and then
find
on all
out
the socials, it's at $1,000,000flipflops as well. So easy to find.
My why. So you do have a why.
Yeah.
That why is WHY.
Yes, correct. So why the WAVES method is why authenticity, values, exploration, and statement of purpose. That's kind of the foundation of the book, is building those things for yourself.
Very good. And also I see you're active on LinkedIn as well, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And TikTok.
We're on all channels.
All channels.
We're on all channels.
Very good. Well, Rodric, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom.
And again, you can find more information about Rodric Lenhart. It's RODRIC, the last name LENHART. Find him on LinkedIn. You find the book and more at $1,000,000flipflops.com. $1,000,000flipflops.com. Café and Networking is brought to us by Focus Semi-Market Intelligence, an agricultural market research specialist in Brazil. More information at FOCUSMI.com. Talk to Tom, talk to the world. Thanks for listening. Until the next time here at Café and Networking Podcast.